On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, Jared Bednar, we know him, we love him, but why does it seem like the rest of the league just can't give the guy credit? We'll talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche, and Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and make sure you subscribe to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. And when you do chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, we get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. All right, we're going to get to a fan poll, which was put up over on The Athletic. They go over things like the soft cap. Should there be a soft cap, or are you good with the hard cap? LTIR stuff. And do the states like Florida with no sales tax actually have an advantage? So we'll discuss that and see what the fan polling was on that and give our take. But where we're going to start today, Mr. Sullivan, over on NHL.com. This is right from the mothership itself. Put up a top 60. They do that Super 16, like their power ranking, and you get a lot of that during the regular season of just the teams. This time they did coaches. And yes, Jared Bednar at least made the top 16. So
Baby
so
steps.
that's nice.
Baby steps.
But yeah. But where he landed, whenever Jared Bednar gets brought up, I always have great interest because is it just like I feel like we are making more out of him because he coaches the team that we root for? Or is it a real thing that he just is not given the credit that he deserves around this league? And when people vote on stuff like this. So we'll comment on that. We'll get to where he is in a second.
That's the thing with Bednar. Like, if you look at this from not burgundy and blue eyes, he's not the sound clippy coach. He doesn't have a clever line, or he doesn't upset people. He's not loud. He's not
very low key. Yep.
And he's a player's guy. And when you look at your players of Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar, I mean, how hard is your job? Again, speaking non-Colorado Avalanche, like how hard is your job to coach these incredible otherworldly generational talents? So they're just like, whatever. Like we said it, like we could coach this team. Like you say that kind of like passingly, flippantly, but Bednar, what he does through all 82 games, putting this team together, the like dedication to the lines and no loyalty. If it's not working, he'll flip it and break it up. And like, there's a lot that Bednar actually does with this team.
Oh, 100%. And for the people that say that, like, when you're coaching guys like Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, Gabe Landeskog, Nathan McKinnon, like, it's easy to coach that team. No, it's not. No. You have to get those guys on the same page, and you have to get all those egos on the same page. That is not easy to do, and he's done it year after year. So where he lands on this Super 16 ranking is 8. And that's good. Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, that's terrible. He should be number 1. Like, no, I'm not saying that. And 8 is fine. Like, I don't want to make too big of a deal about that. But here are the guys that are above him. At number 7 is Peter Laviolette. At number 6 is Rod Brind'Amour. At number 5, I knew you were going to laugh at that. At number 5 is Mike Sullivan. 4 is Peter DeBoer. 3, Bruce Cassidy. 2, Paul Maurice, and number 1 is John Cooper. So here's the one that the ones that have a problem above him. I have a problem with Peter Laviolette being above him, and the reason I do is not, and I like Peter Laviolette, but for me, I like coaches that have longevity, which he has, but with one team.
Mm-hmm.
And Laviolette, when you hear like coaches that revolving door every offseason, he's part of that. He's coached like 6 teams in this league. So if he's that good, why does he keep getting replaced like all the time? I don't. So like can he coach? Of course he can coach. I'm not trying to say he can't, but the criteria that I go on are sure Stanley Cups, longevity, and longevity with a singular team. And Jared Bednar has 3 of those. So I have a little bit of a problem with Peter Laviolette being one above it. They do this in a point system, and Laviolette was at 149 and Bednar was at 148. So they're neck and neck, right?
Yeah.
I'll let you take the Rod Brind'Amour things. They do have a big problem with that, of Brind'Amour being above him. And I got a problem with Peter DeBoer being above him too, because he hasn't won a Stanley Cup yet. So, go ahead. I'll let you, because I know exactly where you're going to go, but feel free.
Rod the Bod Brind'Amour. Why are you above Jared Bednar? Because you have a nickname, because you promised the world and nothing to show for it. Like, it's nothing but hype with not just Brind'Amour, but the whole Carolina Hurricanes. I get so sick and tired of every year everybody say, "Oh, that Carolina Hurricanes team looks scary." No, they don't. They don't show up. They disappear in the playoffs. And for Brind'Amour to be above Bednar, who has a Stanley Cup in the HD TV era, like, I don't understand why Rod Brind'Amour is above Bednar. And there's no criteria. You could add points, tally marks. You could carry the 1, and there's still no reason Rod Brind'Amour should be there.
I agree with you. So, I mean, if I'm going to do this, I don't have a problem with John Cooper being a number 1. I really don't. The guy's a winner. He's got multiple cups. Put
He's
the asterisk
smart.
next to the cups if you want. What's that?
He's wicked smart when it comes to putting together that team.
He's a very, very good coach. I don't have a problem with Paul Maurice being at number 2, because that the most recent coach is going to be up there. That's fine. Mike Sullivan should be at number 3 for me, because when you've coached for one team for that long, like you should be. He's a proven winner, so he should be up there. Bednar should be after that.
Yeah,
Bednar should be 4 in my opinion.
1,000%.
And if you want to say Cassidy because he's more recent with a cup, okay, we can have that discussion. So at the least, I am putting Bednar at 5. So he's at 8. I think he should be at 4 or 5. Not the end of the world, but still, it's just you're putting him below guys where just a couple guys where it's like, on what? Based on what? And if you want to say the Laviolette one because he's had just longevity overall, again, we can have that discussion. The Brind'Amour one, I don't get. The DeBoer one, I don't get.
Yeah, that's and the way they released this list is they dropped like to the 6th, and once you see like Jared Bednar and all those above him, and then you see the top list, you're just like, none of this makes sense. Like, I don't. It's almost to the point of, is there a low-key hatred for this man that we just don't understand?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a hatred. I don't think it's hatred. I just think it's like he doesn't do anything for me. He's not, like you're saying, like he doesn't give you the sound bite. He doesn't give you the Brind'Amour sound bite. Or who's the other guy? I think he was at 11. Tortorella. Yeah, doesn't get Tortorella's at 11. Doesn't give you the Tortorella soundbite. So stuff like that. He does his job. Low-key does his job. And that's just not good enough for some people. But at every level, this guy has won. Yeah. Every single level this guy's won, which nobody has done what he's done in that aspect. So I don't know. There was another thing that went up here because we were talking about last week with the Leon Draisaitl contract and the Nathan MacKinnon contract. There was this a page. I'm trying to find it where it's from. I can't remember, but they had a thing where they predicted the highest paid players in the next 3 years. So this was heading into the 27-28 season. And I thought this was interesting. They put McDavid right back at number 1 at $15.25 million. At number 2, they have Connor Bedard at $14.5 million. So they think after his ELC, he is going to bank in for the second highest paid player in the league. They have Mikko Rantanen. They have him at 12.4. Just kind of what we were talking about in the 12 to 12.5 range. That's right there. And then the last one, interestingly enough, Cale Makar they have in here at number 5 at 13 million. Which, if you listen to that episode when we talked about this, I was putting Cale Makar at number 1. I was thinking Cale Makar is going to be up, or maybe just behind McDavid. But I think 13 is a little low if you're asking me for Cale Makar.
Yeah, and when you go to look at this list, they have Connor McDavid at number 1 with Edmonton. Highly suspect there. I don't think that's where he's going to end up.
Okay.
And Cale Makar, I also thought that was a little low. And it's going to be, I can picture it right now. Cale Makar getting like 14, 15, and Nathan MacKinnon being the first person they interview about this, and him saying he's generational, instant like Hall of Famer, like it's understood. Like me and Mikko are getting paid like we should, but Cale Makar's on another level. And this is the transitional time of Cale Makar being the big guy when Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko kind of take a little step back in superstardom, because Cale, with this new deal, is going to ascend to the heavens.
Yeah, I think that's a little low by a million or two. And the Bedard one interests me. 14.5 after an ELC. Are they going to go that? Are they just going to be like, yeah, he's our generational player. We're just going to throw the world at him right off the bat. I could see it, but I could also see them trying to get that number a little bit lower. But that will be a fun one to watch.
Oh, Chicago's got the money. And
that's the thing too. Yeah, they do. Right.
They have the money, and they need this more than anything in the world for this organization to have another poster guy to say, hey, look, we're okay now.
Right. And I think that's the end result for them is you're right. They have the money. So why hold it up? Why keep it in the bank? Give it to him for max term limit and as high as you can possibly go or close to it. So I just thought that was interesting that based on one site's thoughts on where we'll be. So, all right, let's get our first break in. And when we come back, we'll dive into this athletic fan poll. They cover a lot of ground on this thing and interesting takes from the fan base across hockey. So let's get our first break in and we'll talk about that coming up next. First, let's talk about FanDuel and let's talk about our picks from last week. We'll do our picks for this week tomorrow, or on Wednesday, I should say. But I think we both went 1-1 on week 1. You had the Eagles, and they covered that spread, and I had this is why I don't do this, man. I had the I think those suicide pools where people pick one team and then they're out.
Yeah,
those things got wiped away. There's probably about like 10% of people left in those pools because I had the Bengals, who just lost outright when they were. It was 9.5 when I picked it, but I think it went down to like 7.5 by time of kickoff. Didn't matter. They lost, and you picked the Broncos. We picked the Broncos game as well. You picked the Broncos. I did not. So unfortunately, I won that one. So we're both 1-1 after week 1. So,
yeah, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
It is. So, and with FanDuel, you've heard us talk a lot about it. It's America's #1 sports book. We have something a little different for you, and it's now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game, and all you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook and get 3 weeks of the NFL Sunday Ticket for free. All right, let's dive into the Athletic fan poll. And they asked a handful of questions. I'm not getting to every single one of them because some of them I just don't care about. But for the most part, some interesting questions here. Let's just start off right at the top. Are you a fan of the NHL's quote unquote hard salary cap system? 61% said yes. 29.5% said no. I'd prefer an NBA style quote soft cap. And then just under 7% said I'd prefer a Major League Baseball style system with no cap at all, which I don't want that.
No,
but this is really between the hard cap and the soft cap. And just to briefly summarize what the hard cap is It is what it is. This is the number. You cannot go over it. No if, and you cannot go a penny over it. There's also a floor, which you have to, so you can't just sign a roster full of minimum guys and then have a ton of money on hand. You have to have a minimum as well, and you cannot go under that. And then there's a hard cap, which you cannot go over it. The NBA does a soft cap system. It is very convoluted and sometimes difficult to follow. But they allow you to go over the cap for certain reasons. They like to try to keep guys on the same team. Like, you can go over the cap if you're trying to re-sign your own guy. There is a luxury tax involved if you hit a certain cap. There's so much involved in it, and I get some parts of it. But what are you a fan of? Just the way it is, or a little bit of a soft cap?
I fall right in the middle of that. I don't like the NBA system. It's very difficult. And especially like if you're looking at the health of the 32 organizations that comprise the NHL, it's not sustainable. You cannot approach it with that type of metric. But there is also a flawed approach to the hard cap. Like the 65 million floor, you can still put a team together, but there are teams that purposely sign their team over the cap. And then looking at you, Vegas, find ways to make it happen.
We'll get to the LTIR in a second, but yeah, I feel like there could be a hybrid of some sort. I like guys just staying on the same team, but I do like movement. I'm not trying to say that, but I like when like the stars stay around. Yeah. I do. You know, when they make a move, when they go to a different team, it's always a big deal. It is kind of exciting. But if it's because of cap casualties, like look at like Tampa and Stamkos and stuff like that. Like if they could have signed him and went over the cap because they're trying to keep him, like that probably would have happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So is there a way to do both? I think the NBA is on the right track, but it's just so confusing how they I can't and I don't really want to follow it that much because I don't really watch a lot of basketball, so I don't want to dive too much in it for a sport that I really don't follow. But that's the gist of what I understand it to be. You're trying to keep guys there, so you are allowed to go over the cap to keep them there. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world.
But like the NBA went through this just a couple of years ago where that was kind of abused to a point where it was super teams and you did so much to put teams together. And that honestly is one of the things the NHL has going for it is like if the cap wasn't the way it was, who would want to watch games from Columbus or like Nashville is now becoming a destination, but who do you keep? And you have to really manage that cap. And there's at least one or two stars on every team that when that game comes up on a Thursday night in January, you're like, oh, this is fun because I'd like to watch insert player here. And if there are ways that you can retain multiple guys and you put super teams together, then you're going to have a huge ceiling of like 4 or 5 super teams. And then you're going to have teams come in here that you don't even understand why that team exists.
Well, the one thing the hard cap does to the best of its ability is give you the parity that we love about the NHL.
Yeah.
And it keeps that intact. I threw this out on subtext and it was mixed. It really was mixed. McKinnon 29 said, if you're going to impose a cap, I'd prefer a hard cap. I think a hard cap is more fair in the long term, I think he meant, and creates more parity. There you go. And excitement in the league. The NBA rules are too complex and ultimately will prove porous as teams find loopholes.
Yep.
Which they're kind of finding loopholes in the current system. I get it. Zach says, I'm not too familiar with the NBA style of soft salary cap, but I do like the NHL salary cap. I think it keeps it more even as far as talent. Also, a salary cap makes the office/coaching staff better. They can't just throw money and talent at the problem by creating a, quote, dream team. They have to be good at their job with what they have in front of them, kind of like real life.
Yep.
LOL. Yeah. Vargar, he likes the soft cap. At a bare minimum, I think a team should be able to go over the cap to re-sign their own players. I hate when teams break up because of the cap. After drafting well and making smart trades, they just can't hold the team together. That doesn't make sense. Doing it that way would prevent what happens in a capless system where one or two teams poach all the UFAs. I'm also fine with the Major League Baseball style luxury tax-based system. So those are good points that he makes. Katie says she doesn't really know about the soft cap or what it entails, but she likes the hard cap. I love on a paper, all markets have equal means to bring in star power. Plus, to be honest, I think it's fun to see how teams work with the cap and allocate their resources. That is true. Like when teams are under the gun and they got to make savvy moves because of the hard cap, it's kind of fun to see them punch their way out of the wet paper bag. So she's right about that.
When hockey offseason rolls around, there's not a lot when it comes to sound clips and stuff going on in hockey offseason. So crunching the cap and trying to play fantasy GM is one of the most fun things to do as a hockey fan. And the hard cap allows that avenue of fantasy for fans.
Yeah. And it goes on. Craig says he prefers the hard cap. Coy says he feels like the hard cap is too restrictive. And Avs fan forever says, I hate the hard cap, but I feel like a soft cap would allow to have the era of hockey we remember back when there were teams that had dynasty players and not just traded once they get too expensive. So it's an interesting topic. I don't think it's changing anytime soon, but it is an interesting one to have. And if we had the soft cap, I think we'd be talking about should the NHL adopt the hard cap. So whatever one you have, there's going to be people that want the opposite.
The grass is always greener.
Exactly. Let's get another one in here. Here's the LTIR one. Should the NHL tweak the LTIR rules? What percentage, or you looked at this, didn't you? Yeah. It's 83.5% said yes. Teams are abusing this and using it as a loophole. 15% of Vegas fans chimed in here and said, no, the current LTI rules work well enough. Yeah. So it something's got to happen. Like I understand it. I think it was made in like good faith, and then like a lot of other things, it gets exploited. And when the teams that are exploiting it are winning the Stanley Cup, in multiple teams, not just Vegas, Tampa Bay did it too.
I was about to
say. It's you have a rule, people exploit it, then you need to change it around. It's just the nature of how laws and rules work.
Yeah, this absolutely must be changed. Like not in future theory, like now. This would be a now thing.
Yeah. And it won't happen. I mean, you say now, which is relatively soon, because it probably won't get addressed until the collective bargaining agreement. So, which is not that far away. So I'm sure something will come of this. I would have to imagine. So let's get a quick break in here, and we will continue with the Athletics fan poll survey. Okay. Jumping back into this. Do teams with no state tax have an unfair advantage? This was close. 42.8% said yes, we need changes to even the playing field. And 41.5% said yes, but it isn't significant enough to warrant complex changes. And 14% said no, the no tax state issue is overblown. I think I'm in that camp, man. I think I'm in the 14% where I feel like it's overblown. And the only reason we're talking about this is because who's your most recent champion? And yes, Tampa Bay did win some, before Vegas and Colorado. It seems like, and they talk about this in the blurb after they give you the results of this, seems to get brought up when the Florida teams win. So I don't have a massive problem with it, because they would be, if they were winning at more of a clip than they do, like just completely dominating like year after year after year across all sports, then be like, okay, guys are going there for that tax advantage. But there's times where people don't go to these Florida teams because they're not that good and they're not attractive to free agents. Right now, they just happen to be. This is the cycle. This is the nature of sports. And teams are bad, and then they get better, and then the cycle starts all over again. And right now, we're throwing this state tax thing in and thinking that's a factor, and I don't really think it's a major factor. Is it maybe for a couple guys? Hey, I'll go to a good team, and sure, I'll save a couple extra bucks with no sales tax. But overall, do I feel like it's the driving force as to why guys are going there? Not at all.
Well, there's a kind of a little in between. Like, Nashville is also this way, and that might also be a little bit of a lateral move on why things happened the way they did in the offseason. I do think it's an actual issue and something that does come up. Like, when was the last time a California team has won a Stanley Cup? A long time. And
Mhm.
they don't really attract as much as they used to. Wayne Gretzky was pretty much the last one to want to go over there just because of the glitz and glamour. But on the counterpoint, this is not a league issue because this is not something you can mandate or fix from a league level. This is an agent thing. And this is something they have to fix because I don't know what you can do.
You
So
can't. Yeah.
what do you do if you get traded out of Florida? Your contract gets adjusted.
Right.
Doesn't get to happen that way. It's not a
No.
league sanctioned ordeal.
I mean, we were just talking about a soft cap and a hard cap, and the NBA cap, and it's how it's so like convoluted and difficult to really follow. Trying to weave this into a cap situation, like how do you do it? What is fair?
Yeah.
How do you adjust this to make a contract in the state of Florida or wherever it's a tax-free state? Like, what is it? And like you said, like if that guy moves and you have to adjust it again, like it's I don't see any of this. Like we've been doing sports for a long time, and I just don't feel like this is anything that's gonna to change at all. And I don't really think it needs to. I don't feel like we're just losing guys left and right to Florida and Tampa. It just I don't see it.
No, it's where you go to retire. That's about it.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's when you want to save all the money that you earned. You go down there to retire for it, soak up the sun, which I do not want to do. I will never go to retire to a warm weather. But I say that at my age now, but maybe
No,
a
like
little bit later. Maybe.
70
Who knows?
degrees is hot to me. So
Yeah.
no.
Our fans invested in the Four Nations face-off. 46%. Yes, I'm hyped to see the return of Best on Best. 43%. I might watch some games, but I'm not too excited. And 10% said I probably won't watch. I would like to see screenshot that. And then what are they doing this every 4 years? Or are they even doing it again? Did they say that they're going to do it again?
I think they're cycling the format. Like it's
Yeah.
on 1 year, off a year. I believe that's how it's going.
Well, because they're doing this, and then the next year is the Olympics. So I don't know if they're doing it. If they do it again, I'll say this: if they screenshot this, if they do it again, put up that question again and compare it, because I think people are going to love this thing.
Yep.
I think this is like the thing that they did in baseball with the nation thing in baseball, the classic, whatever it is.
There was a World Cup of hockey.
Yeah,
This
there
used to
was. Yeah,
exist.
exactly. Yep. So I think right now, because people haven't seen it yet, there may be some of those people that are like, I might watch a couple games or not watch it at all. I think once they see it and like the best on best, they're going to fall in love with it.
Yeah, go back and watch those old World Cup of hockey games. Those were fun.
Yeah. And another question on the Four Nation face-off: who will have the best roster? 55% says Canada, 36% the United States, and then everybody else just skipped the question, so they didn't even care. So, yeah, I mean, I think you have to go with Canada.
Yeah, Canada forwards and defense, shaky
Yeah.
goalie position.
And another question that came out of the Four Nations is, should the NHL adopt the 3-2-1 point system? Which I 100% feel like they should do this. And because they are doing that in the Four Nations playoff. So yeah, I mean, the way that works is like a regulation win gives you 3 points. An overtime win gives you 2 points, right? 2 points. An overtime loss gives you 1 point, and then if you lose in regulation, you just get nothing, obviously. So it kind of like forces teams to play a little bit more, whether it's be like at the end of regulation or even in overtime. So I really like it. I wish they would do it. And maybe again, it might be something that comes out of the Four Nations tournament, is that the next collective bargaining agreement, maybe it's something that gets brought up.
That's I was about to say, Chris, keep that wish in your pocket, enjoy the Four Nations, and be vocal about it, because I'm pretty sure this is a soft test to see how
Could
it
be.
works in real time. And with that CBA coming up, this is a proof of concept. So everyone enjoy it loudly, please.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Would you support further NHL expansion? 63% said nope. 32 teams is already enough. 35.5% said yes. We talked about this not that long ago. You're not really on board for any expansion. I'm like on the fence with it. So it's so tough. Like, and I hate waffling on that because I see benefits to both sides. I really do. But if you're going to force me to pick one, I kind of would be okay with adding another couple teams.
The only reason I'd be on board with it is because I know that this is more franchise fees going back into the pool of the league, which means a healthier NHL. But after what you just witnessed in Arizona, and honestly, I think 32 teams is a little bloated. 30 seemed like a long-term sustainable competitive number. 32 is a little bit bloated, even though I don't want to get rid of the Seattle jerseys. But I mean, if you go more than 32, I think you might be teetering a little bit too heavy, and I think you're really going to oversaturate the league and get some really
at how many?
Like if you go over 32, like
over 32, okay.
Yeah, if you're going like 34, 35, what other league has that many right now?
I know
So,
they don't. And there's rumors that, well, I don't say rumors. Bettman has come out and be like, we're not interested in it right now. Right now, tomorrow he might be.
Yeah.
But they could balloon up to 36, which I think is too many. I'd be okay at 34, but I wouldn't go any more than that. So
yeah, Houston, Atlanta, Quebec. I get it. I hear you, but stop.
Well, they did ask, should Arizona get another team? I won't go too deep into that one, but 44% said eventually, but other markets should be prioritized, which I kind of agree with. I kind of like you've tried it. But the same thing with Atlanta. I kind of feel like you've tried it in Atlanta. Whatever. That's a whole nother conversation. But
yeah, I don't think even with Arizona, just the arena locations, like it was a fun team, probably best jersey in the league, and it was hard to get out there and support. I just there's other markets way more deserving than Arizona right now.
And then to finish it up, they got a couple on overtime. Do fans want 3-3 overtime changes? 42%. I'd like to see an NBA style over and back. So once you cross like center ice, you can't go backwards. 31.5 said no, 3-on-3 OT is good enough as it is. 12.5 said yes, I'd like to see some other type of rule change. And 11.5 said I'd like to see a shot clock.
Ooh.
How about that? That'd be interesting. I don't know how that would work. I mean, you just have, if the clock goes off, you just have to, and you don't get a shot off, you just abandon the puck and just go backwards. I don't know how that would work.
No, you start it behind in the trapezoid behind the net. Just dump it.
You have to dump the puck back.
Yeah.
And just, like if you have the puck, you don't get a shot off. Okay. Like you have to, does the clock stop or something? I don't know.
I say adopt both of those NBA rules, the shot clock and the
over and back would be I don't even, I said center ice. I don't even know if it's center ice. I think some people want to see like once you gain the blue line, you can't go back over that.
Yeah, I'd say you go over the blue line, you activate that zone and the shot clock.
Yeah. Okay. Man, that's a lot. They say should 3-on-3 be expanded to 10 minutes? 54% said yes, 44% said no. I think 10's a lot. Add a couple minutes if you want to. I think 5's okay. Add 2 minutes if you want. Make it 7.
No, where it is now is fine because everybody complains about 3-on-3 being gimmicky, and then you go to the gimmicky shootout. So
very gimmicky, yeah, which is a coin flip.
Yeah.
How satisfied are you with the state of NHL officiating? This is on a 1 to 5 scale. 37.5 said 3, 29.5 said 2, 22.5 said 4, 8.5 said 1, and 2% said a 5. So I guess 3 is I mean, whatever. I love talking about the refs, but I think it gets overblown a little bit.
Out of the 5, I would say it's a 2. And I think
it's not that bad.
It's pretty atrocious. Like the grand scheme of things, it's pretty rough.
It's not that bad. And the last question: how entertaining is this era of hockey? Again, 1 through 5. 57.3% said 4. So and the next one down from that, 26% said 5.
Yeah.
So that's a big chunk of this 100% that says either a 4 or a 5. So that just shows you that fans are happy. Fans are happy with how the game is being played right now.
Yeah, I think this last decade, I think honestly, probably from 2015 to 2025 is going to be looked at as a really underrated era in the history of the NHL.
Yeah. So if it wasn't exciting, I don't think I'd be doing this show as long as I have been.
Yeah, true.
But fire away in the comments section on any or all of those topics on the athletic survey. And what we talked about at the top of the show with Bednar and the salary cap stuff. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. So thank you everybody for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. We will be back on Wednesday with whatever is maybe that Mikko contract gets signed. Did the Draisaitl stuff, could it have been done already? But Draisaitl, we don't have it. We don't know, but maybe we'll have it by Wednesday. If we do, we'll talk about it.
That's how we'll end every episode.
Exactly. All right, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.